When you're born, usually you're born into a dynasty or an empire, right? I feel as though I'm cheated because instead of me fulfilling my prophecy, I have to start one. Instead of me, doing a good job and carrying on the empire, I have to build one. And that's a hell of a job for a 21-year-old.
So it's New Year's Eve and I'm out with my girl and we end up at Barnes & Noble's, it's a bookstore. And by this point I'm geeking because it's a chance for me to get some physical copies of some books that I really wanted. And I'm feeling muy feliz in my fleece, you know what I mean? So I'm peeping the books and everything, and I see the book Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race. And I want to get a price check on it. So I hand it over to the white employee and he goes, yeah, $24.99. I'm like, yo, what's up, brother? What's going on? But anyway, that was funny to me. So I'm continuing looking at the books and everything, and then I see The Hate You Give. Now, I'm not going to lie, when I first got to look at this book, initially I wasn't going to buy it, but then I got a chance to read about the author, and then I saw a picture of her, Angie Thomas. Then I thought, you know what, I'm going to buy it, I'm going to check it out. And the more I read it, the more I realized that I made the right decision. I ain't going to lie, this book is a gem. So, here's how I'm going to break down the rest of the video. I'm going to give a brief summary about The Hate You Give. I'll talk a bit about the main character's voice and how important that is to really understanding the message of this book. And finally, I'll get into dissecting the title and what that means. The Hate You Give is a story about a young black girl named Star who navigates life growing up in the hood, Garden Heights, as well as going to a predominantly white school, Williamson, while at the same time going through a traumatic experience of witnessing the death of her best friend at the hands of police brutality. And I'm telling y'all, this book reads just like nonfiction. Now, this isn't the first time that a fictional book gave me a non-fictional feel, but again, that's the exact point of why I bought the book. See, the content of The Hate You Give doesn't thrive off of the novelty of police brutality or black people assimilating into standards set by white people. No. It thrives based off of the fact that these issues of police brutality and assimilating have been long-standing in black history. And another point that I like to make is that I can relate to her and ultimately empathize with her experience, her disposition, and her struggle of what it is like being a black person in this world. So let's get right to it. Let's talk about some of these issues. Now, in my opinion, one of the greatest takeaways from reading The Hate You Give is an encouraging reminder to black women to use their voice despite the opposition that they might face. I found it really dope that Angie Thomas was able to illustrate the differences in the black spaces. In this case, the black space being Garden Heights and the white spaces being Williamson, and how the main character Star was torn between advocating for what she believed was the right thing to do or assimilating to white standards just to keep the peace. And when it came to the cop who killed her friend Khalil, she was the only one who witnessed his death. And now she left with the burden not only to testify, but to tell the truth. Man, do you know how hard it is to keep it all the way real, especially when your life is at stake? Not only that, but following the narrative of a young black girl in America helps the reader remind themselves that we still live in a male-dominated and male-centered society. You know who Star really reminds me of? Well, do you remember the Trayvon Martin case that happened back in 2012? Yeah, well, his best friend, Rachel Gentile, the black girl who was the last person that spoke to Trayvon Martin over the phone before he was killed by George Zimmerman.
He started walking home?
Yeah, he's going to leave the area where the melon area at. He's going to leave the melon area where he was at. Yeah, where you get your melon.
Then what happened?
And then he said, the nigga still following me now. That nigga is still following me now.
That he's still following him?
Yes.
Now y'all know the outcome of the Trayvon Martin case, but what really bothered me was how relentless the people on the internet were in their attack against Rachel Gentile. They were attacking the way she carried herself, they were attacking the way that she spoke. I mean, she did the best that she could. Why do I say that? It was because she was honest. So that made me wonder, what did Rachel do with the hate that people gave her?
H-U-G-L-I-F-E. The hate you gave little infant, U-C-K, everybody. Meaning, what you feed us as seeds grows and blows up in your face. That's thug life.
In this book, Angie Thomas helps us understand what the hate you give really means. You see, in America, the hate you give ultimately incarcerates black and brown men and women for a drug that is being legalized all over the country as we speak. The hate you give left another black man slain at the hands of another suspecting police officer. As a matter of fact, the hate you give wants me to hate people that look like me. And finally, the hate you give has ultimately fueled systemic racism that black and brown folks have been oppressed by, marginalized by for far too long. Look, I mean, black folk weren't born criminals the same way white people weren't born racists, right? Like, it's a learned behavior. It's a behavior that's taught, and it's perpetuated by this system. And speaking of hate, let me just talk about these haters real quick. How many of y'all got haters, viewers? That's the question for you. How many of you all have haters in your life? Raise your hand. I can see you. Matter of fact, if you got to think about it, don't even worry about it. Look, I'll do this. I'll raise my other hand for you, just in case you got to think about it. I'm talking about real haters now. Folks trying to block your shine, kill your vibe, break you down, jock your style. I mean, are y'all getting it? I mean, let me just get my bag real quick. I have never really understood why haters spend so much time and energy tearing other people down to build themselves up. But little do they know is that they're actually measuring the height of their self-worth by standing on your shoulders. But black folk know what's up. When we look at systemic racism that's based on hate, I mean, look, we create, we build, we rebuild. And that theme of building is what I'm going to delve into in my next series of videos. I've decided to revisit a revolutionary movement known as the Black Panthers and see how their goals of creating a self-sustainable black community were left unfinished. And by the way, thank you very much, Angie Thomas, for making such an honest book. This has been The Black Curriculum.
But don't forget, girl, keep your head up. And when he tells you you ain't nothing, don't believe him. And if you can't learn to love you, you should leave him. Cause sister, you don't need. And I ain't trying to gas you up.